3,
Cheers.
2, 1. Welcome back to the Out Loud podcast, everybody. It's the #1 podcast in the world, and we're glad you're here. Now, before we get started, we want to talk to you about our sponsor, Christine.
Yeah, Hexa Coffee in the house. We're so happy to have them. We just got a fresh batch in. Amazing coffee roasted in Chicago. Really tasty. Good hot, cold with cocktails. It's kind of the best. So go do yourself a favor. Order some online at hexacoffee.com. Use our promo code ELK for 10% off your total purchase.
That's right. And on the show today,
Special
episode
guest, 50.
We did it.
Oh,
We
I
made
meant
it
to
to
have
50.
balloons or something.
Oh.
We got
Well.
confetti. Imagine confetti. Woo!
Yeah, episode 50. It's kind of cool. And we have a special guest, Mr. Scott Randolph.
Notifying partners existed very well at that time.
I guess he didn't have to tell anybody. Everybody knew.
Mm-hmm.
He was like getting phone calls. Okay, red dot, red dot, red dot.
I remember I was at school and people were like, Mac Johnson's got AIDS.
So what year did he get
He's like
diagnosed?
93.
Oh, and was he still playing even? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people didn't want to play with him.
Yeah. And yeah. Well, anyway. Cameras rolling. You guys watching the Johnny Depp? Did you see
No. What's the Johnny
the
Depp?
trial on TikTok? It does like the highlights of the hair.
What's his trial? Oh,
I saw one little thing about that. The judge said that they were both toxic or something. I don't remember the exact term he used to each other.
It's a defamation lawsuit. He's suing her. She's suing him for $100 million, and he's suing her for $50 million.
And this is separate from their divorce settlement. This is defamation.
Yeah, it's because she said that he hit her, and
Right.
there's all these videos of her, him on the phone with her, dude, you hit me. She's like, yeah, I did hit you. Okay. She took a shit in his bed. They're pulling up the shit in the bed sheets and it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't want that. Can they both win? In which case,
I think they can only both lose in this case.
Gives her 50.
Actually.
I think it's only pointing to her being abusive.
Damn.
And in her previous relationship, I think she beat the chick she was with.
Yikes.
So it's not showing up. So what is
Just
this?
because she's hot doesn't mean she can treat people like that.
She's really hot.
She's really smoking hot.
She's smoking hot. I would take a little bit of abuse before I took her to trial. It would take a while.
I think she bit his finger off. He doesn't have a pointer finger.
No
He has
way.
black eyes and all these paparazzi photos. He it's fucking gnarly.
Whoa.
Okay, not cool. Not cool for our boy Johnny.
Damn.
So is this like Steve's where you make an intro, or are we already into the
we
podcast?
don't even end.
We're already
we
in.
can.
I didn't even know it.
Welcome,
You guys are
Scott.
We're gonna film separately. Today on the show, we got Scott Randolph, and we mention our sponsor, Hexa Coffee, which is delicious. And we tell everyone that if they go to hexacoffee.com and check out using the promo code ELK, they get 10% off of their purchase.
Okay.
But yeah, so that way, we're just in. We're already in. It started.
All right. So what questions do you have for me?
All right, let me pull out my list.
What
No, I'm just
question?
kidding. I don't have. I just think it's interesting that we are good friends. I see you more than I see almost anybody in my life.
Yeah.
But you've never been to my house. I've never seen you outside of work, even.
Well, it's weird. When I was walking up,
Get right up on that microphone. You ever been on a podcast before?
Take it easy, Steve.
Yeah, just like
Yeah, Steve's adjusting it in their face. It was weird when I was walking up. It's you ever worked in a restaurant or worked with somebody for a long time, and then you pull up to their house, or you pull up at a bar and they're not in their work clothes, and it's weird talking to them.
yeah.
I was thinking it was going to be like that, but I'm well, you just you wear whatever clothes anyways to work.
Yeah,
so it's
same
not,
clothes.
It's
The outfit doesn't change, but the environment. Whatever. It's notable.
I think the
Yeah.
work environment is more neutral, and here you have home court advantage. So
It's true.
you're the dominant male
Oh, wow.
in this
And
situation.
you can
It's
feel
actually
that
me.
Yeah.
dynamic.
It's you.
No, I'm
She's the
kidding.
dominant
That
male.
kid is her.
That kid is her. Yeah, the boss is her. The kid is me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like seeing a teacher outside of school or something. Having him in my home is a little odd
Yeah.
for me in a very welcomed way.
Well, I'm not really a teacher, because that's not the dynamic we have. We're more business partners, but it's you're hosting me in your house.
That's correct.
We're work friends, and you're hosting me in your house, and quite a lovely house that you have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I walked in and I noticed that like I you know me, and like I work a lot, and like it's pretty much all I do, and like my personal life is non-existent. And so like what I'm beginning to notice, like different patterns in my life, is like my house is, like I was saying, white walls. There's barely any artwork. I move every year. I always like move to a different spot. So seeing you guys in a relationship, I'm like, wow, there's like art on the wall, and there's colors in the house, and it smells good, and it's inspiring, and it's unique.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
It's not a house, it's a home.
Exactly. Mine's a
makes me happy.
Yours is just
shelter.
where your shit
we
is.
have
Yeah.
an insane amount of art. So if you need anything, we've got tons more in the garage that our landlord would love us to gift.
We have too much.
It's weird because I move so much that I don't want to. I'm just going to move it anyway.
So why move every year? I can understand occasionally, but you've been here. It's not like you're moving to different cities. So what's the scoop?
I think because there's always a reason for moving, like an upgrade. Or I wanted to live at the beach. Before I started working with Steve, I was living all over like Orange County, and I stayed there for like more time than I would. But then when I started working with Steve, I lived at Steve's house for I think like maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I moved to Malibu for 3 years, and then Malibu was like really isolating, so I moved to Marina Del Rey during the pandemic. And I was like, I got to get out of here just because the crime rate, skyrocketed.
I think that's about the time I met you.
Yeah. And then I moved to Pasadena. And then I was like, I don't want to be in Pasadena. And I moved to Los Feliz.
That is the word.
That's and so I moved there. And so like now I was trying to buy a house. And then I want to buy. And I'm down to. He's already.
You want one of these?
Those are going to make me want to like inhale.
No. Oh, I mean. Maybe it will, but it's a cigar. It's just a smaller one.
Yeah.
It'll make you feel large.
Are you going to smoke one?
No.
And I brought out my collection of ashtrays. I collect these. This is it's called a pochvas. It's a French. Those are roaches. It's a French like pocket. Pochvas means like pocket shit. Like you put shit from your pocket in. But it's from the 18th century. So that's an ashtray. This was my grandma's. That's Florida. Our friend Wuchi Baby made that.
You should
this
take
one
it
came
on
from India.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you went there?
Yeah. They like, they sell them everywhere. Like the one guy you meet, he's like, "Oh, my uncle makes this," but then you go like up the street and they like have the same exact shit. Yeah.
You should take that on Antique Roadshow. See if it's worth anything.
Yeah, maybe. But for now, it feels cool to like ash a joint into it.
So. What about your current place? I'm curious. Are you going to be there longer? You don't think? What you're already thinking of the next move?
I want to buy. I wanted to buy in the last market.
Right.
But it's just like I put like 5 offers in on houses, and it just got outbid by like a couple $100,000.
Jesus.
So then I moved to Los Feliz, and I wanted to. And I was like closer to my brother. I'm closer to work, And now that I'm not traveling so much, it's like I can kind of maybe go wherever. I think I might want to head back to Malibu and buy something.
Oh, really? Buy something in Malibu. So you were trying to buy in Burbank and it was too expensive. You think you'll be able to buy in Malibu?
I think the market's going to go down just because it's pretty insane. But it was like Malibu was nice. Like I stayed there for a long time, and but it just was like so isolating. I was like, I have to get into the mix. And then once I moved in, it just was kind of like a one thing after another. But it was.
I'd take that isolation in a heartbeat.
It's nice, but I was working at Steve's every day, so it'd be an hour in, an hour out, and then sometimes like the canyon would be closed, so you're almost home, and then you have to. There's a rock spill, so then you have to go all the way back, go all the way around to the 10 freeway, and come up another way. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
and so that like got old. But now that like Steve and I and everybody like we're organized to the point where we're like planning things out.
Yeah,
I don't have to be there every day.
Right.
So
are you liking that? You're liking being home?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice because we were traveling 50 weeks a year. 45 weeks out of the year.
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic. And then once the pandemic hit, it was like a sigh of relief, like, oh, I don't have to get on a plane. Mm-hmm. And then now that, you know, we're back traveling, and now it's a pain in the ass getting on an airplane. Even though, like, we did it right, we have, you know, all the TSA pre-check, you know, we fly business class, we go into the lounge. It's still like, fuck, I gotta go to the airport and I gotta land, and then if there's a layover, it just makes it worse. And
yeah. You guys, I mean, as much as you guys flew, I get it. I still kind of like planes.
Well, I was on, I mean, shit, like, one year, Steve and I, it was like a really massive year, and I had a mathematician calculate like how much we traveled, and we had a constant speed of 17 miles an hour for the entire year.
Yeah, wow.
That
is pretty wild.
Cool.
Isn't that? I mean, I think we did. I think we traveled like 380,000 miles that year, which is around the equator is 25,000, 24,000.
Oh my God.
You did how many? 35?
350. So we probably went around the globe 12 times.
Holy
wow.
shit.
Yeah.
That makes me want to nap.
And like how much time did you spend on a plane, like total?
A lot.
Like 2 weeks total or something?
More.
Yeah.
I mean, because we were that was the year I think we went to Australia.
Oh, sure.
I think we even did Europe, Singapore. It was massive.
Crazy. Well, let's go back to the beginning.
Oh boy.
Young Scott Randolph. Oh boy. That's Isaac and I's impression of you is this. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's her impression of Scott Randolph. But okay, so you grew up in California.
In Pasadena. You know, it's crazy. There's a book called Ishmael, and they say, okay, like start at the beginning. And it's interesting to see where people start on their timeline. Because the guy, I think what he was saying in the story was, like, you know, I can start at the beginning, but like if you were a squid or a jellyfish, like it'd be a different beginning. Like there's all different beginnings.
What do you mean if I was a squid or a jellyfish?
It's like that's your perspective. So my timeline, it's interesting when you tell people like, let me hear your timeline, and then when they normally start is an interesting starting point.
Well, don't you start when you're born?
What am I going to say?
You're born in Pasadena.
Nobody remembers.
It's true that there's like the first 5 years you don't remember your childhood.
I know what you
like if we were in therapy and I was like, well, give me your timeline of your life, like you'd be like, okay, you know, I had a great house, or you know,
grew up in suburbs.
I was 4 years old or whatever, or you would start at like, well, there was a time when my uncle touched me, like right. You know what I mean, like,
or it's like, well, my parents met when they were in high school. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's that.
It's not relative, but
okay. But for you. You were born in Pasadena.
I was born in Pasadena.
Yeah, what schools did you go to?
The timeline will begin.
Okay, I went to St. Felicitas. I went to a Catholic grade school where I had like legit nuns, and it was pretty rough. They were like, I mean, I was rambunctious, and then I got kicked out in 6th grade, and then from 6th grade I went to Pasadena Christian School, and then for 7th and 8th. And then they couldn't throw me out of there, but
they tried.
But they didn't make me any recommendations to any high schools in the area. Mm-hmm. So there was like 3 or 4 high schools, like you know, Catholic high schools that people went to, or like Christian high schools, or you know, private schools, and they recommended me not going to any of them, to all of them. So then I went to and then. My brother was going to Pasadena High School at the time, and he was like into all sorts of like drugs and, you know, getting in trouble a lot. And I would have been a freshman when he was a senior, and my mom was like, "There's not a chance in fucking hell you're going to school there." And so I went to I used like somebody else's address, and I went to Temple City High School. So it was interesting because from high school there, I ended up. Like I knew everybody because from the junior high, they all went to other places. And so like I knew people from like 6 or 7 different high schools. Mm-hmm. And so I did my high school there. I played football. I started playing football there. Like I didn't have any friends my freshman year at the school. I had a buddy, Mike, there that went there, and then a couple other people that I knew. And then I went and played football, and that's where I met like all my buddies from high school.
Really?
That I'm still friends with to this day. But we would smoke pot and go play football. And like, I just hated playing football because I was like 130 pounds. I was super tiny.
What position?
So they put me in like some bullshit like linebacker. And yeah, I remember it was like they wanted to just give me playing time.
You were just like fodder. You were just
they wanted to give me playing time, and the coach grabbed me during the game. It was like the first game. He's like, "All right, Randolph, go in." I'm like, "Okay, cool. What do I do?" And he's like, "Sit back down." And so that was like,
Oh, when you were out in the field, you're like, what?
Well, I'll be on the sidelines. I was like, he's like, "Okay, you're gonna go in for this." I was like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And he's like, "What do you want me to do? Go sit back on the bench."
Yeah, he's like, forget it.
So then. And then the next day at like practice, they were asking to see who can be a long snapper, and I like a hiker for like special teams, and I was awesome at hiking, so I just became the long snapper.
Wow!
And
long snapper Scott Randolph.
So then it was just a joke, and it was fun, and I would just long snap all practice. Like we'd come in stoned, and me and my other buddy would just long snap to each other. He was the kicker, and so I did that. Then I played baseball. And I was actually pretty good, and then the coach found out I smoked pot, and he was like, "You fucking idiot!" So he like benched me, and then I played water polo, and I was really good at water polo, and I did that, and I kind of just went to city college after that, just fucked around.
Bona fide athlete though.
Yeah, I'm coordinated. Like I can. And
you still run and you swim.
Yeah.
I don't know if you run still, but I know you love swimming.
I like swimming a lot. I like swimming in the ocean, but I was always pretty active. And then, go ahead.
Well, it's just funny to me thinking of you as like a bad kid, because I know this version of you, pretty dialed adult. You're not like a rule follower, but you're not like, let's break rules and let's like be crazy and like fuck you and fuck this. And
I looked up to my older brother.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You're the youngest?
I'm the youngest
of three.
And so I looked up to my older brother, and so like my validation was like to impress him, and so he was getting in trouble, so I was like constantly trying to get in trouble. Like I was a mess. You
were trying to get in trouble just to impress your brother. Like, my parents will be mad, but my brother will think it's cool.
Yeah, but at that point, you don't even care about what your parents think. And I was just, I
was petrified of getting in trouble. I hated getting in trouble. I would cry and just fall apart.
Like my senior year, they wanted to kick me out. And because I went to like all these like Christian and Catholic schools, like I was academically.
Yeah.
I was going to say academia. I've been listening to a lot of like English people,
like that school really helped.
So like I was like learning about this shit in 6th grade, what we're doing in high school. And so like my grade point average senior year was like 3.8. Granted, my classes were like, I had 4 classes. I got an automatic A because I played sports. I had an economics class that the guy was retiring after like 50 years, so he gave everybody A's.
Wow.
And I had a wood shop or whatever class, and so like they but they were like, dude, we can't kick this guy out with like 3.8.
And why did they want to kick you out? Just because you were a bad egg?
I was a bad egg. I was like destructive. I was,
like smashing. What's destructive?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to break things. Just a silly, rambunctious.
Let's break this chair right now in class, or like food fights and shit.
No, like senior year, I walked into accounting class. I stepped on a stink bomb, and you've ever smelled one of those stink bombs?
Yeah,
smell bad. And then they evacuated the class. Then they took me into the office, and then all the security guards searched my bags, and they found a bunch of stink bombs. And so then they suspended me.
Stink bomb is so like Dennis the Menace kind of.
So it was like that kind of silly stuff. Yeah. And then on the day I went back to school, I went to the principal's office to apologize to her. And I stepped on a stink bomb in her office. And then I went back to my classroom, and I didn't have any evidence on me or whatever. And then they pulled me out of class, they searched me, and they didn't find a stink bomb. And so they couldn't suspend me.
So you learned your lesson to not keep stink bombs in your bag.
Yeah.
If you're going to step on one.
So it was just shit like that. And then I started, I was drinking a lot in high school and partying. And so going to parties and getting fucked up, and then So
but did the school know about that, or that's just part of you being like a bad kid?
It was a public high school, and
What was the drugs and stuff to impress your brother also at first?
No, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it could have been, but like, I mean, I would smoke pot with them. I remember like in 8th grade. We'd go to the Rose Bowl and go swim and smoke a lot of weed.
Mm-hmm. And that's still where you swim today, huh? So they haven't kicked you out. That's a long relationship.
That's a long Well, I pay money now to them.
Yeah.
But, it was, just smoking weed here and there. And then once I got to like junior year, I was smoking it every day.
And when was your drinking like blacking out, puking?
Drinking was like, I was drinking a lot junior, senior year. And then when I got into college, it's all I did. And then I never blacked out really, but I do remember. I remember always getting fucked up to the point where like if I would throw up from drinking too much, like 3 or 4 times a week, and I couldn't go to bed unless I had the spins. Well. So, but
like
then,
what? Like you weren't ready to go to bed, and it's like the spins. Like okay,
I made it. Up. Yeah.
I
was fucked up. I got home. I'm in bed, and I'm like smiling.
Yeah.
And just, You
love the spins.
You'd puke that night or the next day.
Both. And once I start puking, I can't stop. But I would just puke to the point to where just to get the alcohol out of my stomach.
So you're making yourself puke.
Unless I was like spinning, because I don't do well on spins. But like if I was like had a belly full of beer, I'd make myself puke because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to wake up more fucked up.
Smart. So at least still there was like some kind of foresight.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a foresight, but like I never was a blackout guy. But then like I don't know. I remember. I think like that was like pretty much like my 21 to 29.
And your parents got divorced when?
19.
When you were 19.
Yeah. So when they were 19, when I was 19, I moved to Glendora with my mom. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I don't want to be here. So I moved to San Diego and I slept on my cousin's couch for like 3 months.
Gotcha. But so the whole time you were like in middle school and high school, like fucking up, like getting thrown out of 6th grade and stuff. How do your parents react to that? Like, are they disciplinarians or were they like...
Yeah. I mean, they were like, what the fuck? I mean, you can only go to your bat for your child so much.
Right. So they were just, and probably like Steven, your older brother had like exhausted them to the point where you're not getting nearly the effort that was put towards Steven.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And so then you're in college. Is that when you started lifeguarding?
I went to City College. I think after high school, I went to like Pasadena City College and then Glendora City College. So after San Diego, I moved back. I was like, I don't want to be in San Diego. Like, I wasn't making money. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I went back to live with my mom, and I was like, I don't want to be here. And I think at that point, I was like maybe 21. I think I turned 21, and I started lifeguarding for Laguna Beach. Like the same week, like I passed the pre-quals to, and it was nice giving me some sort of motivation of like something to look forward to. Like then that's when I realized like it's, it helps to have a purpose. Cause then you don't get all like, you're not like the devil, finds things to do for idle hands.
Right.
It's like, So I had a goal, and I was like, okay, well, that's when I was like, so I started working out a lot. I didn't drink so much, and then I started lifeguarding, and then I was like, all right. And then I moved down to Laguna Niguel. I moved a lot in that time, but I moved to Laguna Niguel, and then I remember I was working at a country club in Glendora when I started lifeguarding, and these people had a house in Laguna Niguel. So I remember they were like, yeah, we have an apartment you can stay at, and I was like, cool. And so I started doing that while I was lifeguarding, and what they didn't tell me was it was a fucking roach motel. Like there was so many cockroaches in this place, and I remember I was like 21 years old, and I would have to put a fucking fumigation bomb every time I left my house.
Oh Lord!
I'm talking millions of cockroaches.
Jesus.
And I'd have to sleep with the hoodie over my head because there'd just be roaches running around everywhere.
Stop.
And you lived there how long?
So I lived there for 3 months, and I remember I called.
I wouldn't have lasted. I would have maybe gotten through one night and then never again.
Yeah.
And I'm not like high maintenance about a lot, but how did you do that? How did you?
If she gets bug bites like in bed, like she's like, we got to move. Like,
Okay, no. We had that is not true. We had an infestation in this house for a long
We've had a
time that
bug
we
bomb
could
this
not
house.
get rid of, and it wasn't just.
She was at her wit's end.
Yeah,
Here?
I was. Yeah, I was like, we were treating it like bed bugs, and it would go away, but it would come back, and like each time it would come back, it would be like more devastating, because
Sure.
it's just like you did everything. We'd scrub it from top to
Scrub it,
bottom,
steamed
like
it, bombed it.
bombed it, did all the things. We bought a new mattress, we bought a new bed frame, we bought new like everything, and it would
I
come
think
back.
when you're young, you tolerate more, and I was, I was like on my own for the first time, and
Yeah.
but I remember I called this lady, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna move out, and she goes, listen, little boy. She's like, don't you ever burn bridges in life. That's a lesson for you. And I'm like, you didn't tell me this was a fucking roach motel.
You didn't tell me I had 1 million roommates.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of like, she was like, well, yeah, it's a problem we're working on. But I'm like, I worked for this country club, and the fucking pretentious cunt. I remember, like, first of all, like, talking to an 18-year-old like that, like, you know what I mean? It's one thing, but like when you're in the fucking wrong, when like you knew I was moving into, it's like,
Yeah.
it's
She tried to like strong arm you then.
pull one up.
yeah,
pull a fast
like listen,
one on
little
you.
boy, you don't ever burn bridges in life. And I'm like, fuck you,
Right.
But so then I remember I ran into a buddy that I went to high school with, and then we moved to San Clemente. So I lived in San Clemente for like 3 years. That's how I met Leo, who works at the warehouse.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That was probably
Good find.
good find.
Good find.
And then I think from there I when I was doing from there I lived in San Clemente twice. This was like in 2006. It was when the housing market was popping off, and all my buddies were like making money. I went and bought a one-way ticket to Europe, and I backpacked Europe for like 3 months.
Nice.
And me and a buddy, the guy I was living with, and my buddy was getting married, and he bought a house in Arizona. He's like, dude, we're all making money out here. And so I flew home. I talked to Leo, and I was like, yo, dude, like everybody's killing it out in Arizona with the real estate market. So then I fucking put a down payment on a house on a credit card.
In Arizona.
And then they're like, you have to, if you want to rent it out, or you have to stay there for a year and be owner occupied. So,
Yeah.
so I moved out there, and I was like, I loved it. Like,
Where is that?
In Queen Creek, Arizona.
You know what that is?
Yeah, it's near Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Pinal County, like Santan area. And I remember I bought the house for $190,000, and as I had all the shit in my truck. I moved out there. I'm pulling into the fucking community. They took the housing, the prices of houses, like houses from the 190s. They took the sign down and put houses from the 130. And then that week the market completely collapsed.
Oh,
And
that's
so-
terrible.
So I lived out there, and I was like, making payments, and I'm like, what the fuck? I talked to a guy out there. I had the house for 3 years. So I think from like 2006 to 2009, I had the house, and me and Leo were just making payments, and then we had somebody move in there, and I talked to a lawyer, and they were like, it's bad, and you're probably better off foreclosing on the house. And so I'm like, I don't want to foreclose; it's going to ruin my credit. And then I called the banks, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm having like hardship, and I think at the time Obama was giving out loans to people in distressed situations, and he and they were like, hey, you know what? You're not distressed because you haven't missed a payment in 3 years. He's like, what I would suggest you do is you miss a payment.
Wow.
Miss 2 payments, give me a call, and then we have a better chance at getting your loan. So I called him. I missed 2 payments. I called him. I was like, hey, you know what? Can we run my credit and like see if I qualify? He's like, what are you talking about? You missed 2 payments. I can't give you a loan. And I fucking just mailed my keys to him, and I left, and I let everything go. And I just let all my credit cards go. I let the housing go. And
What do you mean you let it go?
I
Went
fucking
unpaid.
stopped paying everything.
Just bailed on it.
Everything.
Not today,
Okay.
Satan.
So then what happens?
So that was like, so then
Then
I
you went to
just,
jail.
No, and
No,
so-
what happens when you do that?
You get a million calls
no,
from creditors.
You get a million calls from creditors.
Because you owed money on your credit card.
Everything.
And you owed, obviously, money on the house.
Everything. And so like I went and foreclosed, and then I just had really fucked up credit for like 7 years.
Wow.
And so about that time, like I came and then I moved back. I think I moved back to my dad's in Sunland,
Yeah.
and I was like, I can't live here.
That house is like 4 houses away from the house I lived at in Sunland, the island. We found this out.
Yeah, it was
is
crazy. Small world.
Moving all around each other.
Yeah. What year were you in Sunland?
It's probably like 2009.
Yeah, 3 years later, I was there.
And then so I remember I was in Sunland and I was like, I can't, what am I doing? And so I got an apartment with Leo down in San Clemente, and I started lifeguarding again. I took like a year off. Started lifeguarding again, and then during that time, like we had the sickest house. We had a house overlooking the San Clemente Pier, and I invented. So a buddy of mine had a take your idea to market class at the Art Center in Pasadena. It's like a really prestigious art school. It's expensive. Like a lot of people went there. If you go there, like it's really good on a resume.
Sorry, but still at this point, you're like getting drunk, like fuck you, everybody.
Life's completely
attitude.
manageable.
Okay.
Not fuck you, everybody. Like I wasn't like fuck you, everybody. Like I everybody liked me. Like I was a people person, and it just I think authority or like rules.
But what about you like going to parties and throwing chairs through the window? We're
Yeah,
past that period right now.
Yeah,
At this point.
you're
Okay.
right.
We're gonna go back to that.
Yeah, we can.
I'm fascinated by that guy.
I'm
by
not.
that guy.
It's embarrassing. I mean, I'm happy to talk about
Well,
it.
in 2009, you're what, like 25 or something?
Yeah.
And
26.
just like throwing chairs through windows is like 19.
That
or
was
something?
That was probably from like 17 to 19.
Okay, we're gonna come back to
That was
that.
probably
guy.
like 12 to 19. Just
Okay.
stupid fucking teenage shit.
right.
And then so 2000. So when I was living in San Clemente with Leo, like I said, my buddy had and he said, "Do you have any ideas?" And so, my dad was like, "Dude, they should put Velcro pockets on like towels to like store stuff in." And I was like, "That's a great idea." So then I told my buddy, I was like, yeah, like there's an idea where you can, if you have a workout towel, you can put a pocket on it and you can take it to the gym and work out or whatever. And so he's like, dude, that's a really good idea. And so we went to class, and then he told them about it, and they're like, dude, that's really cool. We can help you take this to market. So, we put it together. We did this whole business plan, and we ended up getting it in the Sports Chalet. I don't even think they have Sports Chalet anymore, but
It's a store.
Sports Chalet had like 50 locations in Southern California.
Okay.
It was a
It's like Dick's or whatever.
Dick's had like 900, but this had 50, and so we got it in the market, and we dressed up like two PE teachers, and my name was Terry Cloth and his was Tony Velour.
Amazing.
And we would go into these like buyer meetings, and people would be like, what the fuck? And like they would pick up the towel. So like pretty soon we got into Sports Chalet, then we got into Big Five, Bed Bath and Beyond,
Whoa.
24 Hour Fitness, GNC. Like we were in like 5,000 stores in a matter of like 3 or 4 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
So in the beginning, I remember I moved into my, I put a camper shell on the back of my truck, and I lived out of my truck for like 5 months while I was lifeguarding. And so everything that I made, I would put into the business. And
Is the business making a lot of money being in all those stores?
no, because the thing about that is the towel costed $265. We got them sewed here in Chinatown, and we got them pretty much. I would buy the cloth from some garment place by USC. They'd ship them over to the place in Chinatown where I had an office at this point.
Yeah.
And then everybody would sew them up. They would have a finished product, and then they would ship out from there. The final cost was like $265. Sports Chalet was picking it up for $350.
So you're getting less than $1 a towel for you.
80 cents a towel, but they have net 30 terms or net 60 or net 90.
What's
It
that
means you give the goods, they pay you in 60 days. So I couldn't, so I'm in all these stores. Sport Chalet wants 8,000 towels, right? That's $24,000.
Right.
I'm borrowing from John, and then, you know, and I'm maxed out with no, you know, I can't get a credit. I can't get a loan because I fucked up. I let all my shit go from the house. So that my personal, they're like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Right.
And so that went on, like, you know, I remember not to even to get into it, but Shark Tank wrote us a letter. They wanted us on the show. I filled out all the forms. They didn't call. They didn't call back. They asked us to go on.
They hit you up.
They hit me up.
How did they hear about you?
I don't even know.
Wow.
Then that was like season 1 or 2, you know. But what's crazy about them is, like, I remember they had they would ask you what you want in exchange for, like, so, you know, you want 10% for $300,000.
Right. What you're asking.
So that was all laid out before you go on the show. So when I see it on the show, I'm like, and they're like negotiating, but I'm like, that price is already set.
Well, they're coming in with the price that's already set. When in their pitch, they say, today we're looking for $500,000.
But the Sharks already know all that. Okay. Everybody already knows all that. So it's not like they're getting blindsided.
Yeah, it was fascinating talking to Mark Cuban about that show, because he's like, sometimes one sort of pitch is like an hour or more. Like, and they're like grilling these people, and they cut it all into like a 2-minute little segment.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
So they were like, because our at this college, our product was like the only one that was taking off. And so, like, they would have me go in and like talk to the classes about, you know, how to, like, some entrepreneur classes. So, like, that was my life. Like, that's when I kind of started focusing on, like, working a lot, because I was like, you know, I got really fascinated with, you know, like Andrew Carnegie or Henry Ford, and like, how did those guys do it? And I started like reading self-help books. I mean, that was my life.
And are you
3 or 4 years?
Is that just a natural progression, or are you sort of like, I got to turn my life around? You know, like, I gotta, like,
well, I got
what am I doing?
I got to turn my life around. I had 3 business partners at the time, and I was pretty much, you know, I was the CEO. And so I was like, there's always like a guilt and shame factor that I wasn't functioning at my highest peak, because I was always hungover or fucking high, or, you know, whatever. And so, like, but my life was like, I was living like a fucking hippie, you know, driving around the gnarliest places in downtown, smoking. I just smell like pot, smoking joints. And I was just working to get shit done. And then I would go to like pitch these things to people, and I'd still be high as fuck. And like, you know, I'd smell like weed. And so, like, there was always like a shame factor that I just wasn't I was like operating at like 40 or 50%. Not on point. And, but experimenting with like self-help books and meditation. And I changed my number, shut out all of my friends, and I just worked. And I just worked and worked and worked and worked. And so I've been kind of like that since I was like 26 years old, just where I just want to work, because I was always reading about the people, the successful people that like shut everybody out and like, and worked and worked and worked.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, shut everybody out, or like just get rid of the weak? Everybody's out.
Yeah, that seems intense. I could understand if it was like you knew you had to get away from a certain friend circle or something.
Yeah, but all my friend circles at that point were pretty bad.
Right, you didn't have like a Steve in your life who's like a super on point guy working hard.
No.
You wouldn't have shut someone like him out at that moment.
Well, I wouldn't have even attracted that. I remember like him. So at that point, him and my brother were buddies.
Right.
Steve and my brother were buddies.
Because your older brother worked at Big Brother magazine.
Yeah.
Your big brother worked at Big Brother, which was the magazine that became Jackass. Like, that's where they all kind of began, all those guys.
So at that point, Steve and Steve were sober, and I wasn't. So I didn't really want to like come around, because I'm like fucking high, you know.
So your brother got sober and Steve-O got sober.
Yeah, they're probably like 4 years ahead of me, 5 years.
Got you.
And so at this point, I'm working, but like I'm successful on the outside, you know, like I'm giving talks to college classes about, you know, getting ideas.
Was anyone saying, like, was your brother or like people saying like, maybe you should get sober? And you're like, bro, I'm killing it.
Because I was just like, I wasn't like a low bottom drunk where I was like sleeping on the fucking street. Like I was sleeping out of my car, but it's what entrepreneurs did. Then I moved into my dad's house. But like, I mean, that's just what you have
You were
to
high
do.
functioning.
Very high functioning, because I was so guilty about it that I just overcompensated and worked 20 hours a day.
Yeah, that's fun. When I first started smoking weed, like every day in high school, I got the best grades ever. Because I was like, I can't be like the stoner that like let his grades slip. Like then my parents are going to find out. I'm going to be in trouble, which I hated.
Yeah.
So like I started actually trying to do well in school to mask the fact that I was smoking weed all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I felt guilty. So, you know, I was working my fucking ass off, and then just, you know, I was getting in all these retail places.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the money. Like we were so fucking in debt because people would, you know, I would have John, dude, a dear friend of mine who died. But when I was living at my dad's, I converted the sew shop. It was a sewing, 30 Vietnamese ladies, Chinese ladies. There was 0 English. There was same ran the ladies. John was like the fucking boss, the coolest fucking Vietnamese dude ever. He was like 55 at this time, maybe 50, 55.
Was it a sew shop or a sweat shop?
It was both. It was gnarly. It was like a 5,000 to 8,000 cement fucking building, right where the cornfields are in Chinatown, and I would go there every day. But like, dude, my only people would be like my business partner. This time we had a falling out, but it was, you know, he was still there, and that's another story.
Yeah.
And me and all these, you know, these Asian people, and John was like my best friend at the time, and he was like this 50-year-old. He smoked 3 packs a day when it was busy, 4 packs when it wasn't busy, and like there'd be dudes rolling up in Escalades. And they'd be like, "What's up?" He's like, "Oh, what's up, dog?" And like give him like the sickest daps. And I'm like, "How do you know that guy?" "Oh, that's fucking so and so. I used to start his shit. That's the guy who started Tap Out." And then another guy would roll up, would be Tommy John Underwear. So like all these dudes would go to him, and he was just he was a G. And like, you know, he was like a really dear friend of mine for a very interesting time in my life. But at that point, like, I kept trying to get investors, and there was like business partnership issues where, you know, there were certain things that were getting tied up, and people didn't want to invest because there was shares that were being held up by just kind of dead equity. And, and so that was like 5 or 6 years in, and I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like my life at this point was really bad. Like I was, you know, I drink every day for 100% for sure. Just
drinking, going to sleep with the spins, like drinking excessively every day.
And then like
from
living at my dad's house
too, or like afterward.
I'd be staring at my watch, like I'm not gonna drink till 4.
And then 4 just
Fuck it,
inhale it.
I'm not gonna drink till 12. Fuck it, I'm just gonna go at 11, have a beer for lunch. And then that was like going on, you know, but again, I mean, I was in all these places, and so from the outside it looked good, but just from the inside I was like miserable. And I was trying to fight the feeling of like going into like a 12-step program, because like, dude, I had issues with my brother and he was sober, so I didn't want to have anything to do with like whatever was going on that sober tip. So like I kept trying to read like spiritual literature and like Wayne Dyer, and like, you know, I'd feel good for 3 days, and then
trying to find your own way.
Yeah.
Not trying to follow your brother
I would
this time.
Eat mushrooms and meditate. I would fucking do coke and meditate. I would, you know what I mean? I was just
do coke and meditate is a great way to get sober.
It was actually really fascinating. But you know, and then pretty soon it'd be 2 o'clock. It'd be Tuesday, and I'd be thrown up in a dumpster behind a strip club, like at you know 3 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And that was I remember I was like 29, about to turn 30, and I was like, I can't go into my 30s like this. Like it's bad. I was borrowing. My time consisted of working all day, trying to figure out debt problems, calling the banks, yelling at them because they had a $35 overdraft fee, yelling at them for taking advantage of the little man and the corporate capitalists.
You fucking piece of shit.
You fucking calling them on hold for hours.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Dude, what?
You're not wrong.
Well,
No,
and then
that's true.
Once I realized I didn't have money to go buy weed, and I'd have $40 in my account. I'd take out $60 to go buy an eighth, and then I would fucking then go negative by $35. I mean, once I started doing, I was like, dude, it's my fault. Like all this fucking time I'm wasting on these phones. And so that's after I got sober. Like I had a lot of resentments towards a lot of people. And so when I got sober, I kind of like went through all that, did like a personal inventory.
And just realized like you were sort of creating your own problems.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really anyone else to blame.
I got really into Ralph Waldo Emerson when I was in my 20s. And I would go home and like take his essay on compensation or take one of his essays on self-reliance. And I would just print them out at the photocopy shop and I would study them and highlight them and underline them and look up the words and to figure out the Latin. And he had a quote in there that was like, like causes produce like effects. And like if you look at the effects in your life, like all effects have a cause, right? And so if you look at the effects in your life, they all stem from something. At this point in my life, I was borrowing money from my dad weekly. I just moved from my car to my dad's house. I'm living at my dad's house. I'm 30. I'm yelling at the fucking banks. I'm drinking my fucking ass off daily and getting high. I'm going to my friend's house to do drugs. Like that was my life. And I was like spiritually bankrupt. I was emotionally bankrupt. I was bankrupt on all facets. And I was like, well, it has a common cause, right? And so I started eliminating the causes. When I changed my number, I eliminated everything, and the only thing I couldn't eliminate was drinking. And I was like, well, maybe I have a problem. And then someone sent me over like a part of the 12-step book that said like, all the ways that you try to stop drinking alcohol. And at this point, like the things in the book, I'll get back to that. The things in the book were like taking a trip, not taking a trip, not only drinking beer, not drinking booze, not keeping it in the house. Then one of the last thing was like reading motivational literature. I was like, oh fuck.
But hadn't you been reading motivational literature? It
wasn't working because I was using it to try to get sober. Because I would get sober, I'd be like, I'm not drinking for a month.
Yeah.
And then I'd read some literature that like made me feel good. I'd go 3 days, drink again, and then I'm drinking.
But you couldn't make it a month.
Couldn't make it 3 days.
Gotcha.
Or like
I just quit for a month and I felt so good, and then as soon as it was over, I'm like, I'm drinking again. Like, and it was like,
yeah, but you don't have that. Like, but so I would quit, and I remember I quit and just smoked weed for 9 months, but I was blazing it every day.
Sure.
And it's just the whack-a-mole.
I quit smoking weed for a year,
and you drank a lot more.
I drank so much.
Yeah. It's just something came up, and so then that's when I forgot my point, but I was like, dude, I have to.
Well, we're leading
stop.
to you getting sober.
Yeah, so I got sober, and then I just kind of...
You found the literature in the 12-step program, and you're like, the inspirational literature, so maybe this does apply to me kind of moment.
I was like, I might be an alcoholic. And then there was a seminar. Napoleon Hill, he wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, and he had like a seminar to like how to better your life and to do all, but it cost $300, and I was like, I can't even afford to go to this seminar. And then I found out that the 12 steps have a similar kind of workbook thing. So I'm like, oh, it does? Like it's free? So then I started work, I ran into a buddy who was sober.
That was the budget
sort of. It was like, it's free? Holy fuck, let me try it. And then I ran into a buddy who, the last time I saw him, he was like shooting dope in a Mexican food restaurant. And then I saw him, he like looked like he was like a hot dude. I was like, who's that hot dude? He looked like Keanu Reeves at a wedding. And then I was like, holy fuck. And then I talked to him. I'm like, bro, I thought you were, and he's like, I got sober at 2 years. And so then I shot him a text like 3 weeks after that. And I was like, I need help.
And you stayed sober since then, or like you never relapsed? Because you just realized like, this is what I got to do. Like you've been sort of...
I just realized that like, I can't even have a drink.
Yeah.
Because it's going to turn into like daily. I
mean, it sounds like you weren't like a lazy guy. You were just like anything to convince yourself like the booze isn't the problem. Like, I'll do all this. I'll read. And it's like, finally you just realize like, fuck, like the booze is the problem.
Well, deeper than that, I am the problem.
Oh.
It's not the booze it's my reaction to the booze. And like, that's why I think that, you could say like, well, it's willpower and you don't have to, but like, I cannot have one drink. And why is that? Because like, we're making money now. I got miles on my fucking credit card. I'm going to just say, fuck it, have a drink. I may not go ape shit, but I'm going to be like, well, I just relapsed. What's the point? And like, and then just kind of, and
keep
within
making new
rules.
Keep changing the logic up.
Yeah, then you push your line back a little farther and farther.
And then in 2 months, I'm like, well, I know I should get back into the program. I might as well just do some drugs.
Right. Then next thing you know, you're puking outside a strip club at 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
when
your
you're...
willpower came back. That's what's so amazing, right? It's a kind of an ironic thing that you could have no energy to commit to the rules that you're setting for yourself on the daily basis. Like, I'm not going to drink until 4 p.m. And then now,
I think it's just the idea that I'm powerless over anything outside of myself. Like, I eat. I mean, dude, you saw how I got fat as fuck. I can't, anything that's pleasurable, I take it to the excess. Like, I have a mechanism where I don't know what's like normal behavior. So in relationships, in fucking eating dessert and eating, like, I can't, I'm compulsive.
Eating with Steve and Scott is like, they're like
because it feels so good, you want
like,
more.
You're not fucking done with your food, and I'm just gonna save the rest for later. You're like, what the fuck? Like,
I mean, you say,
but then you say you are so not an alcoholic, dude, and it really makes me feel good because it's a concern.
Bro, I remember a crazy thing that happened to me was I was at a buddy's house and we made this fucking bomb ass food, and he wasn't eating it, and I'm like, oh, you're not eating? He's like, nah, it's too hot. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm like, what? I'm already done with it. Like, I don't give a fuck.
The top
it's
of
hot.
your mouth
like,
is
I'm gonna go to the
shredded,
hospital.
hanging down.
Yeah, it's like there's just a mechanism in me. I don't know what it is that like I.
Something with your reward system.
Or like we
Yeah.
got those mushrooms
all
on tour. That
confused.
guy gave me mushrooms on tour, and they're like, "How have you not just eaten all those now?" And
Yeah,
I'm like, "I'm
I
gonna take
look
them
at 'em
home,
all the
like
time.
sprinkle them in my tea for like a week." Like
I was more obsessed. I was obsessive on that. I'm staring at your mushrooms like, dude, I'm trying to live vicariously.
right. You were
Yeah.
texting me like, "You take those mushrooms yet?"
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Well, not quite.
It's just like that burning a hole in your pocket kind of energy.
But
So-
now I don't even think about doing drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, good.
I work with other guys, and it's like that's not even, now it's a different issue. Now it's like, my food. It's
you
my
said you
love
gave up
avoidance.
sugar.
Gave up sugar. My love avoidancy. Like, I'm trying to work on. It's really hard for me to be intimate with somebody that, like, anybody really, that's not like a business friendship, or you know what I mean. Like, it's.
Yeah, like for you to, if you got a girlfriend, like to give them any of your time would be like really difficult for you, I would assume.
Yeah, but I set that boundary that where, like, it's not going to happen, and so it just leaves me alone.
Have you ever found yourself addicted to a woman in the same way?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so bad, like just unreasonably bad, and where they become
Like
my
swim
drug.
fan bad or?
What's swim fan?
Oh,
that
that's a good
movie
That's like
back in the
psycho
day.
stalker shit.
No, there's always like a mechanism to where, like, I'm not going to be a stalker, like, but like,
That's good.
Like the Sinead O'Connor song, like, dude, I know how she was feeling because,
Which
like,
one? Which song? Sorry.
the only song that she has that's
Who's-
popular, like,
Which
who's
is-
her-
nothing compares to you.
Oh, nothing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
dude, like, I understand
Prince wrote
that.
that song.
Yeah, and like, I can go into that, zone. That's probably why, and it's only with toxic women. The women that are really healthy, like, it's claustrophobic inside, and like, I'm really trying to work on that.
So do you sabotage a good relationship?
100%.
Like you're looking for like the one thing, be like, nope, can't do it, or you just like destroy it so that they break up with you, or kind of
I'm out.
you're just out.
I remember, like,
I used to kind of be that way too.
well, I got into therapy recently because I was like, man, like, dude, I just fucking, this is a problem, and it just makes me selfish, and it makes me an asshole, and like, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
And I was talking to the therapist, and I was like, yeah. She's like, let me guess, you like, look, oh, their toes fucked up, you're out. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, that's because, like, the little kid inside of you that was, like, really fucking hurt doesn't realize that, like, you're a man now, and so he's making all the decisions to, like, protect yourself from not getting hurt. So if somebody's, like, really cool, I'll find something, and it's like, it's just kind of left me kind of where I'm at. The same thing I was trying to look for in, like, drugs and alcohol, and like what I was like running from. Like, now I'm not doing that. Now I'm not eating sugar. Now I'm like not even dating, and like, so all these like feelings are popping up, and it's like
You made space for them.
it's weird, and it's like there's like a sense of loneliness that like I've been covering up the whole time. So it has nothing to do with the drugs, it has nothing to do with the alcohol. It's like something's going on inside me where I don't even want to deal with it, so I'm like shutting it down. Mm-hmm. That's why I just eat so much or whatever.
So you're like loneliness in terms of like deep down you would like a meaningful relationship.
Sure. I mean, it's nice seeing, you know, it'd be nice to go home and like share something with somebody. But I've been such a fucking like cold-hearted businessman,
workaholic,
emotionless, workaholic, like that. It's like, okay, I don't want to be like Michael Douglas in The Game, you know, where you just, have you seen that movie?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's gnarly.
But what, just like workaholic, like have no time for your partner.
Like, great,
like,
I have an empire, but like I'm fucking
Who do I
eating,
share it with?
Yeah.
How happy am I?
Like I'll go travel. I've been to a lot of places, but it's like, dude, it'd be nice to like, I've seen some fucking crazy shit in my life, and I'm like by myself in Cambodia. You know, it's like, dude, it'd be cool to have somebody.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between being alone and being lonely, right? There's no shame in being alone, but the loneliness is something to obviously pay attention to. And my guess is, as you keep doing the work, like, I mean, it'll get easier to be like willing to share your space and cohabitate, or willing to,
well, I think
like meet people where they are.
I set up my life to where I like it's like a OCD or control thing. Like it's weird having someone in your space because I've had my own space for so long that, you know, but it's just, it'd be nice to not eat out of a fucking to-go box, or, you know what I mean, or cook dinner like a fucking steak that's bomb, but I'm like just eating the whole thing, or like somebody to be like, you know, come home to a house that smells nice or something. So I'm like evaluating my life at this junction, like, all right, you know, what's more fulfilling? And so, like I said, I got into therapy again, and then, you know, like I went, I talked to a goal setter for finances to like set up that, and, you know, get some an education account for like my nieces and nephews and stuff like that. So
that's nice.
Yeah, you know,
what's a dream girl for you? Like, would it be someone like driven, like always working, where like you're like, hey, I'm actually flying to Baltimore tomorrow, and she's like, dude, don't even worry about it, I gotta run to Vegas for something anyway? Or like, I
don't know, I think I've always gotten what I've asked for, and it's always just been kind of fucking like, when I got it, I'm just like, ugh, I don't want that. At this point,
so you shouldn't.
I'm not just like seeing what happens.
Cool.
I'm open to it. I'll set that intention, but like, I'm not going to get specific because, you know, I want a chick with the best butt or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. I have a psychopath with a fucking nice butt. You know what I mean? Like,
the physical traits are not something you should try to manifest, but the values somebody holds are worth thinking about. Like, who is this person that you want to spend your time with? Like that, you know, you don't want that to be
find
completely
like 8
random.
people that fit the personality traits you want, and then pick the one with the best butt. You know,
but so,
like choose the butt out of the group of
no, but that's my problem. Like that's like my thinking, and so like obviously that's gonna end in fucking disaster because it's like, so at this juncture in the game, it's like I'm just want to do the work. You know what I mean?
And just the right girl will come along. Like
they must.
You're becoming the guy that your dream girl would want.
I think that's the real issue, right?
Sure.
It's probably like an issue of self-worth and not feeling ready to offer your whole self to somebody.
Yeah, I think intellectually, you know, I know, I obviously on a subconscious level, that's the right answer, you know, but I'm open for it. And I just, you know, I mean, I think at this point, like, I'm very dateable. I'm a fun date. I have things to talk about, but like, you know, I'm too. I'm not there yet for the person that I want to settle down with.
You're keeping it surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're doing the work to like go deeper. So that's what's coming. I mean, you're setting yourself up for that right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like. Not to get into it, but it was like, you know, you go through like an inventory, and you like, you know, there's some people on the list that hey, I was an asshole, like I'm sorry. And so the people that I can't like make it right with, like I would go volunteer at a women's shelter, and like I was there for a while, and they're like, what are you doing here? And it's like very humbling telling them that, like, you know, I wasn't the best boyfriend or whatever in a relationship or this, and like telling these women that have been fucking battered and living in this house was like the most humbling experience. And it's like, yeah, I'm so fucking sorry on behalf, you know what I mean? Because you see them at this place, and it's like, so I'll go there with some guys or myself and change out mattresses. They're just things that, you know, they don't want to do on a day-to-day.
But those chicks don't go like, oh, like, but you didn't even hit her with a shovel? Like, yeah, that's not that bad, you know, like no, but you know, compared to the guys cool. They've dealt with.
There's like, oh, you a bad boy, ain't you? And like, you're like, you know.
Right. You're not like representing
to be
what
good.
the
I'm
guy
not
that
beating
brought them.
chicks or anything like that, but I just
I feel like that would almost make you feel like a little better. Like, oh, I guess I'm not that bad. Like, I didn't even...
Yeah.
The chick I dated, she's not here. She's not one of y'all, you know?
But it's just, it's relative to like, you know, when you wake up after a night, I doubt you were ever that person, but like...
What?
You wake up the next morning and you're like, oh, fuck. Never
Sometimes. Oh, yeah.
So, like, getting sober, you do that with a lot of people in your life. Like the
oh fuck, like I can't believe I said that
or did that.
I was so drunk I embarrassed myself last night.
Yeah.
I know I embarrassed myself.
Yeah, like so. Yeah. You know,
I feel like that a lot.
And it's weird. It's weird going back when I was
feel
living.
That way? You keep it together pretty good. I sort of cut the cord every now and then and just go like, wow.
No, I've certainly felt that way, but made a fool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's normal.
Or you wake up in the morning and it's like, it's like. It hits you 12 seconds later. Sometimes it hits you like, oh, fuck.
Right, while you're brushing teeth. Well, or so I'll just be like, wait, why do I feel like bad?
Why did my back hurt? I fell into a bush.
What did I do? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. That's, yeah.
Yeah. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like in high school?
I had a public access TV show that I did one episode.
That's right.
I've been like a Johnny Carson.
Cool.
So
that's what you wanted. You wanted to do something entertainment.
Yeah, but now the more and more, like, I just like being behind the scenes.
You don't like being on camera. Like, do you like doing Steve's podcast?
I like doing the podcast.
I feel like that's like the funnest thing we get to do.
It's really fun. Yeah. But like going up and like, you know, doing stand up, like,
right.
It, you know.
Well, you're less of an attention seeker than Steve, but even more than me, or less than me, you know, like.
You love it.
I love it.
He's a ham.
He's a ham.
I'm a ham. But you're there's a hamminess to you, I mean, obviously, if you wanted to be a talk show host, like, that's like, I want to be famous.
Yeah, in high school.
But now you don't seem to seek that.
I was very extroverted. I'm pretty introverted now.
Do you think like the extroversion, associate that with, that's the guy that was drinking all the time? Like, I should not seek attention that way?
I was like that in high school, and I think it was kind of cringy.
Yeah.
So I would rather just be behind the scenes, like building the empire, so to speak, like managing the companies and like putting the pieces together to like, it's fun because, like, you know, with the business background that I had with doing the towel company, it's like it's like that now for me, but like with money. Yeah. You know what I mean?
With money, yeah.
But you can pay the bills because the money's coming in.
Or marketing, like, you know, it takes three things to run a business, and that's like, you know, someone running it. It takes the marketing. It takes the like finances.
Yeah, capital.
And now we have that, and so it's like it's fun because imagine having all that except the money, and you're just fucking
grinding,
you know,
all the time.
Sure.
And I remember
it's like when you have weed and you roll the joint. You don't have a fucking lighter. Like the
it's
lighter.
Like you have all the friends over, and you don't even have money for the weed.
Right.
And you're like, you know. I remember when I went to a talk for the guy who did the Jaws. He did the artwork for the Jaws poster.
Cool.
And he was like, you know what? Money's not everything, but like it really helps lubricate you through life a lot easier.
Sure.
And, you know, working with Steve, it's like, dude, we just did that opening sequence. I mean, like, it was nice to be like, okay, we got to hire this person, but like, we don't have the money. We got to take it. Steve's just like, fuck it, dude. Let's go. Make it happen.
Yeah.
And then that's how, like, I mean, you saw 80 people that were at the Busey's place. Like, it was fucking nuts.
But it came together. It wasn't just, Steve doesn't just throw his money around frivolously.
Because
but it's
we had organization.
Oh, we need that thing. Like, I don't care what it costs. Like, if we need it, get it.
Yeah.
And get the best thing and get it. Make sure we have it for longer than we need because, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have that, you know.
It's incredible.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be in a situation to where like it's like a poverty conscious.
Yeah, financial stress is the worst.
It's bad.
Yeah, financial
it's
stability.
almost a disease.
Yeah.
And money's not everything, but it's certainly, you know, I mean, you could do a lot of things with money.
You can do a lot, and like it's like when the temperature is perfect and you don't feel hot or cold. You're just outside, and it's like, you know, that's what like financial stability is. You're just fine. Like, there's nothing. You don't need a jacket. You don't need to take your shirt off. Like, you're good.
But I think that relief is letting you attract more. That's why it's like once that like it's a different energy vibration. So once you're in that vibrational pattern
anymore,
that's when it doesn't come from a lack. It comes from like, dude, abundance. That's why there's certain people that have a lot, and there's a lot of people that keep attracting very little. Is because once you like break that energy pattern of like the poverty consciousness of like, fuck. Right.
My life is hard. Things are hard for me.
It's heavy, but I think, you know, you can be of service poor. I mean, Mother Teresa was poor. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but like it felt good to donate money to Novak to get 2 people into the sober living. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You could, it's easier to do that. And,
oh yeah. Or just like, hey, man, it'd be so great to fly home to see our families this Christmas, but like, fuck, tickets are expensive. But to be like, buy the fucking tickets, like, you know, like,
take the seminar. I mean, you can do all those things to better yourself, and it's not like a constantly treading water, fear for basic necessities.
Like, lack of money should never get in your way,
right?
And not even like, oh, I wish I could buy that Lamborghini, but like, I want to go home and see my family, like. So there should just be like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not even about the Lamborghini, you know what I mean? But it's about having a nice car to where you don't have to fucking worry about, you know, the gas prices.
Let me ask you, you obviously mentioned some of these things that you feel like go out of whack or get unbalanced. Do you think your perspective and like desire for making money is like where it should be, is healthy and in check?
When I was reading a lot of those books on robber barons and fucking capitalists, they I mean, you could say they're bad people, you can say whatever, but there's a quote from Andrew Carnegie that I really liked, and it was, you spend the first third of your life making as many mistakes as you can. You spend the second third of your life
check.
Yeah, you spend the second third of your life making as much money as you can. You spend the third part of your life giving away as much money as you can. And Andrew Carnegie,
when you're in your third part, you just give me a call, right? I'll take some of it.
Well, he was worth like about $500 billion towards the end of in 1919, right? The books will say it was like 300 million, but it's equivalent to like 500 during that time, right? He was the richest man in the world, and they asked him if he was going to give his son the inheritance, and he's like, I would never burden somebody with this amount of money. And they said the last part of his life, he lost his mind trying to figure out what to do with his money to not hurt somebody. And that's why Carnegie Hall, I think at that point, he donated 1,800 libraries, 2,000 universities. Like he was the father of philanthropy. So I like that because, you know, it'd be nice to put my nieces through college, or in my nephews. It'd be nice you could open up a sober living and get a lot of people help. I think we all have a duty to like not go into the next part of your life with anything that you brought into it, but it'd be cool to leave behind a legacy. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to make a lot of money to where I can give away a lot.
So right now you're ruthless, you're borderline selfish because you're trying to you just want to make money, but in your head, this is money that will be given away.
Yeah.
And will help people.
For sure.
Yeah. I see myself the same way. That's how I rationalize
I think
myself.
I think a lot of people have a problem with the idea of that you have to be ruthless in business, but I don't think that it's ruthless. I think it's there's just no emotion in business, and that's what, like, it's very black and white, and it's a hard lesson for me to learn because I'm such a people pleaser that, like, it's okay to have conflict. You know what I mean? It's in especially with somebody like growing up, I just didn't have any boundaries, and so all the books from therapists would say, like, there's a book called The Power of No, and it's for people that have a hard time with saying no. And he's like, to get even into this book, you should say no to as many people as you can, so badly to make up for all the times that you didn't say no in the past, to where you got yourself in really fucked up situations for not saying no, and then to, like, get into the habit of it so you don't feel bad about saying no, and then trim it back.
Yeah.
But the lesson is to do that, and another thing would be, like, if you don't want to say no, and you're like, don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, just say I'll think about it, and that kind of diffuses the situation. But it's interesting. Makes
sense.
Because, like,
I struggle with that too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people
same.
do,
Yeah.
and I still do. But as soon as I started saying no, and not feeling guilty about it, like, Leo told me, he's like, dude, just because you say no doesn't mean you're a bad guy. And I wrote that on a piece of paper, like, back in 2009. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, your only duty in life is to yourself. And I think, and I don't mean, like, if you're in a relationship, like, to be selfish, but, like, I think the idea is to be complete yourself, because if you have any gaps, you know what I mean? And and you meet somebody else with those gaps and you guys fill each other's gaps, well, then it's, like, codependent. But I think if you, like, if you two are both, like, happy people and, like, your life is complete, then you share in your completeness together.
Yeah, it was like Laird Hamilton said about him and his wife. He's like, I can't make you happy, you can't make me happy. Like, it's not my job to make you, like, you go be happy, I'll go be happy.
Yeah.
And, like, then we'll, like, when we're together, we'll both be happy together. Like, I'm not gonna make you happy, and you're not gonna make me happy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I thought that was kind of,
because if they don't, then all of a sudden you're using them for your happiness, and then if they don't give that to you, it's like, now they're letting you down, and then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, you feel like, as a husband or as a partner, like, oh shit, like, I got to make this person happy. Like, that's kind of my role. And, like, but it's, that, so even, like, the giving of it is also not helpful.
Well, plus, if you were like that, if you guys were codependent on each other, and Paul's like, I got to go on this trip, you'd be like, no. But it's like, dude, go, have fun.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday, because I pointed out how most of the time when you've been married a long time, it is absolutely codependent. I mean, especially, I think, different generations prior, like, men maybe couldn't even do their laundry or didn't know how to cook for themselves when their wives would pass before they did or something. Or, there's maybe one partner that paid all the bills, and then the other partner dies, and there's just this catastrophic halt, and, like, they don't know how to function, you know? So I think...
But
I think marriage kind of invites a little bit of that. Well, I totally hear what you're saying, though. But I just want to say, like, the hole. You mentioned having the holes. And I don't know that I completely agree. I think that you're allowed to be, like, still growing and still changing and still adapting when you come into a relationship. I don't think you have to be, like, fully cooked before you're able to connect with somebody.
I think that's fine. But it'd be interesting to see, like, there's a part in Conversation with God when he was talking about, that's why in Eastern cultures the grandparents raise the kids, because what you're going to be 25 having kids, the kids are having kids. Like, you haven't experienced a lot of the world yet, but, like,
right, the wisdom, or the grandparents have the wisdom,
but they live in the house,
right?
And I don't mean that, like, the gaps. I just mean that, like, if you have any, and I don't even mean flaws, but I think if you just have things that you're not comfortable with yourself with, like, fuck, dude, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, like, you get a fucking toxic, you know what I mean?
I bet she had a good butt.
She had a good butt.
Well, the funny thing is
he went for the butt.
I totally know what you mean, though, too. Like, it says more about Amber in that situation, and it says more about Johnny. Like, they should be looking at what it says about themselves, how they got into the situation, why they let somebody trigger them to act so foolish, like all those things.
When I was in
very revealing.
when I was in therapy, the last time when I was trying to date and do that, the rule is like don't talk about therapy like until like the 6th or 7th date, because like if you do it right off, everybody has trauma. If you bond on the first date, I'm in therapy for what? Oh, like I was when I was a kid or whatever. Me too. Now you have a trauma bond. And now you're bonding off that trauma. We have so many things in common. Then it becomes a fucking toxic. But like,
right, because you're almost the trauma is what keeps you together. So you don't want to lose your trauma. Like you don't want to get rid of your trauma. Right.
It's your bag of blow. Fuck. You can't leave.
Yeah, like I always think it's bad when, like, we quit our jobs one time working for the Dutons, like we quit, and some of the guys got on unemployment because they're like, oh, I can be on unemployment now. But I didn't want to because it's like
a dependency.
I don't want to benefit from not working, or like, and this isn't fair, but like you'll see someone like a beggar, someone like begging on the street, and they're like, my life sucks, like, help me out. And they're in a really tough spot because they're motivated for the worse their life is, the more inclined I am to give them money. So they're not motivated to improve. Like their motivation is driving them deeper into like a low. Now, I'm not saying, hey, get a better attitude. They're home. Like there's so much more that leads to that. But like, it's a really dangerous spot to be in where you're benefiting from a negative. And if you bonded over trauma, it's kind of like that. If
I was like, Paul, do stand up tonight, and you got fucking hammered before you went up there and you crushed.
Yeah.
The best set of your life.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have a drink the second time.
Yeah.
Third time.
For sure.
And then you're not funny until you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just mean it like that. I don't mean like you're not a good comedian, you're not a good person, but I just mean like if you're bonding on, and maybe gaps is the wrong word because, there's duties in a relationship that I think, people fill in each other's gaps. But I just mean like emotionally, or I mean, if you have two emotionally bankrupt people, and you guys get together and it makes your endorphins spike. What happens if the guy has to go on a trip, and then you're just left with yourself? You know what I mean? You're not comfortable enough with yourself to where it's like, or like, fuck, is this guy cheating on me? Like if you're a jealous person, like, dude, is this you know what I mean? Then it's weird. I don't know. That's what I would think.
Yeah.
I can see it. I do think you don't have to be fully cooked or perfect. I mean, fully.
Nobody's perfect.
I mean, nobody's perfect, but.
Right. You start growing together.
Yeah.
Wonder if you guys got together and you were in $50,000 in debt, or there's like different things that like. On a dating plan, like when you do that, they have a piece of paper you draw, and it's red light, yellow light, green light. Red light is like if they have any of these qualities, you're out the fucking door. If they have orange, it's a caution, but it's not a deal breaker. And green are like qualities you look for. So like one would be, you don't want to date. You don't want to. It's different for everybody, but like. You would ideally like to be with somebody that has a good relationship with their parents, or have gotten over maybe if their father did something or they have mom issues. Like they've at least done the work on it. But if they're like, dude, not even in therapy, like they have severe fucking issues. No, but okay, so but it might be an orange light for somebody, it might be a red light for somebody, but you don't want to date somebody that doesn't have a car and you live 20 miles away. So now you got to fucking drive over there. It's like do you want to date somebody that has a job? I'd rather date somebody that has a career, or how much in debt are they? Are they, whatever. And then you have the orange light. It's like, things that aren't deal breakers. And then, but you want to focus on the green. So what they
I do want to focus on your green, Scott. I want to know what's on that green list.
I was dating somebody, and I was looking at her, and she just wouldn't be a good mother. And that bothered me. And nothing else was wrong.
That feels loaded. How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, we were walking her dog, and her dog got off the leash and attacked another dog.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she's like, "Go get him." And I'm like, "It's not my fucking dog." You know what I mean? It was just it was a weird reaction that she had.
Yeah.
And it was a weird reaction that she had when a fucking crazy episode happened. That was her reaction.
That's revealing.
You know, it's revealing because it's like that. You know. Or I remember there was a girl I was on the phone with, and I liked her a lot. And but again, this could be something that I'm looking for, and I can maybe have a discussion about it. Like, hey, that really bothered me, but like, maybe, you know, but she just belittled this food server, and I was like, what? That's not, and it just turned me off.
I mean, you can have a conversation, but I don't know. People are the way they are, I think, in a lot of ways. That's the scary one to look past.
Yeah, I'm trying to, you know, put like our relationship in this lens, but it feels like it's a little different because I knew you already, you know? So even if I would have saw you like belittle someone, I'd be like, whoa, that wasn't you.
But
like,
here's the difference. That? You guys got to know each other for a long time. So what I do is like, I get these red flags and I paint them fucking green because they're hot. And I just, you know what I mean? And so then it becomes a fucking complete disaster. But if you got to know somebody and they became your friend first, I think that's, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think if you guys go together and you guys are friends.
Right. We wouldn't have been friends in the first place if you were like a person to belittle a waiter or something.
But you at least got to know her and you're like, dude, I really like I'm attracted to her. She's cool as fuck. It's different.
Yeah. I think our situation is a little different because we wasn't like seeking, at least for me. Yeah. Wasn't like certain qualities. It was really just like being Christine. That was kind of my
like kind of fit the qualities I always said. I always said like I wanted to be with somebody funny and handsome.
Yeah.
And kind. Like I don't like assholes.
Not even to get into psychology, but what kind of person is your dad?
My dad, he is like more like sarcastic humor, but definitely like jokes a lot.
Like Paul?
Not quite the same. Like Paul's goofy. My dad's not really goofy. He's just like, man, I don't even know how to describe
He's not
his
silly,
humor.
but he's very funny.
Yeah.
They have a thing where it's called an arousal template, and your arousal template's set from when you're 4 to 9. So what you see from those ages, that's what like gets set as your template.
I will say, speaking of the template, I always thought I would date a man that wore suits to work. That never happened for me.
I wore a bathing suit one time.
That's as close as we get, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, like from not to get too mushy.
But that's like an orange light. Who gives a fuck that like he doesn't wear suits?
It's not a deal breaker.
It's not like he's mean to his mother, you know. And actually, how you are with your mother does, I think, say a lot of good things about you. So yeah, like that's like
I don't like how you are.
But it'd be weird if he was like, my mom's such a fucking bitch, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
you guys
that
would be together.
Bother me if she was that way too.
Right. I mean, that'd be a red thing. So it's like things like that. Like it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And so what they have you do is they have you go through all your relationships and find like the pattern, and then that kind of goes on your red light.
Yeah, it's funny the 4 to 9 thing because I met her when I was 8, and I just had the biggest crush on her. Like my whole thing was formed around her.
Yeah, that was actually interesting too because it was like this whole thing when we dated. Like, do you actually like me or do you like this idea you've had of me for a long, long time?
Yeah, I had to like ignore the like idea I had of her because I realized when we started really hanging out, I was like,
you didn't
Paul,
know
you
me
don't
that
really
well.
know this girl. You know her, you're friends, but you've also like obsessed over her and painted this like it's so unfair to her now.
Yeah.
To like have this expectation, like she's like, so then I just like, you don't even know her. And so now get to know her. And there were things about you I was surprised by, but I liked all those things even more than like
what?
I don't know. I just didn't know she was like so silly. I didn't know, I guess the silliness you never really showed. You were a little more buttoned up always.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. I don't wear it on my sleeve. It takes me some time to like let my guard down. And like I'm goofy with you because I feel safe, but I wasn't always like that goofy in relationships because I didn't feel like I'd be received well, you know?
What was your last boyfriend like? Is that am I allowed to ask that, right?
You know, it's an interesting
We've talked
one.
about him before on the show.
It's an interesting one. Not a bad guy, but he had some control issues that were hard for me to thrive in, I guess you could say. Like he would sometimes, like he was really interested in like how much I'd work out or watch what I ate, or would comment if I accepted a dessert at like an event. And
How long did you date him for?
almost 3 years. Like it got so awkward at points. Like I remember we went to a basketball game and we were shuffling to get to our seats, and he's like, "Did you see all those guys were looking at you?" Like he had a lot of jealous issues coming up that he didn't deal with that weren't fair to put on me. And I got to this point where I was walking on eggshells a lot, just trying not to do something wrong. And I just kept thinking that like if I was good or whatever, that we'd be good. But ultimately it was just like not a good situation. And one of the moments where I realized that there was sort of a red flag that was coming up for me was because those things happen like gradually, you know, it just kind of snuck up on me. But he like bailed on seeing my family, and that really bothered me because I saw his family all the time and loved them. They're great people, like he is too. He's a lovely human, but just like bailing on my family after I was expecting and like kind of made arrangements and that they're gonna see. It was embarrassing.
What was his excuse?
He didn't really, I don't even remember. I don't even think he probably gave me one. It was just,
I can't do it this weekend.
He was really kind of strong-willed and sort of like he could do what he wanted to do.
Maybe seeing your family is a moment he has no control over. Like he's not in control in that moment. And he's kind of like, you're very vulnerable meeting someone's family, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're not in your own world at all.
But I just super did not appreciate that. And
I bet.
I felt like he was burdened to spend time with my family after that. And it was really problematic. And again, that was one of the things.
I pretend like I love her family.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
See, he's goofy.
Yeah. But honestly, like, it means so much to me that you love my family and, you know, connect with them. And I don't have to force it. I don't have to, I don't have to feel like I'm a middle
He's
man.
a fucking son-in-law.
Yeah. And like, you know, he's Uncle Paul. Like, he's, you know, it's great.
The kids call me Uncle Paul.
That's cool.
But yeah, it is interesting because, I don't know, I learned so much about,
of course,
you know, what I wanted the next chapter of my life to include, and it definitely wasn't.
It wasn't me.
To be managed.
It wasn't me, exactly. You weren't
wasn't
thinking
to be
like,
managed.
I need a goofy barefooted
No,
guy.
not the barefoot. I never willed that, but yeah, funny and kind and
handsome.
yeah,
Handsome, don't forget handsome.
Paul told me like the story of you guys were on the couch watching TV. You watched like 8 hours of TV.
Yeah.
What were you thinking that whole time? Just to preface, I forgot how it was. Maybe you asked her to be your girlfriend or something like that.
No. It was our group of friends.
Yeah.
Like we've got a solid crew of like 7. We all took a trip to Taos, New Mexico. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I am telling her how I feel. Like I've never told her my whole life. And like, I'm just sick of it. Like, I don't care. Maybe she'll say, oh, I don't feel that way about you. Fine. Then I can move on with my fucking life. Like I was just like, I gotta tell her.
Yeah.
So then I'm just on that trip. And like, I was also aware, like, okay, also like, don't be a fucking psycho. Like just be a homie also. But like say something, you know? So anyway, I was kind of laying it on thick. And then
Yeah, like the
how was he
whole
laying it on? Okay, now let's go to your version. How was he laying? Was he laying it on thick?
not like that thick, I wouldn't say. I've definitely been hit on harder, but he was just always there. He was like, you know, it was like the whole weekend.
It's like a psycho.
No, like we
we
kind of
bought
like
this thing. We went into an antique show or an antique store, and the guy was like to her. It was just me and her in there. Like we broke off from the group, and we were shopping around this antique store, and this guy was like, "Oh, and like, is this your husband?"
Yeah, that was funny. That like kind of made me think about him like that because just wasn't used to framing him like that.
But you didn't know, like, when you were going on this trip, did you know Paul was going? Were you excited? Did you think that it was on?
No, not like that. I mean, I was excited to see my friends, and I hadn't seen you in a long time.
She hadn't seen me since I fell.
You were friend zoned.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, friend zone for life.
Yeah.
For life.
Well, and like I never made a move. I mean, I was always too scared to say anything
And
to Christine.
frankly,
I didn't even tell my friend. I didn't even tell like the boys. Like guys, I love Christine.
I had male friends who I was like, I think they have a crush on me. Like I kind of thought that was the case. I never thought that about him. Like he made no indication that I was.
But to a lot of our friends, they're like, yeah, Paul, we knew it was so obvious.
But yeah, I didn't see it. But yeah, we just kept like dropping away and kind of found ourselves alone in these little moments, and nothing was like over the top. I don't know, flirtatious even, but it just felt very familiar and comforting. And
But
at what point did you know it was on?
I think after we left, because we kissed and he confessed these feelings and they felt very sincere.
How long were you on the couch for before he confessed?
4 episodes of
One
Dead to
episode
Me.
of Game of Thrones, 4 episodes of Dead to Me, horrible show.
Like 3 hour long.
the whole house watched the season finale or the series finale of Game of Thrones that night. And
We were like on a
But I
love
had-
seat the whole time.
I had told you earlier, I think I like said something like I had a crush on you when we were kids. I said that like in the hot tub, I think.
You let it out.
Just a
I've
little
got
bit.
a bad memory.
And
Would-
that to me was like laying it on thick. Like,
Yeah, I was.
but so then we're watching this thing and there was like, we were kind of watching it together. After it ended, everyone went to bed. We stayed up and was like, you want to watch something?
Why'd you stay up? Because you knew?
I wanted to be with him. Yeah.
So before that,
I mean-
did you want to be with him?
No, no.
But you were like, we're probably going to kiss tonight. Were you thinking that?
I don't know if I don't have a memory of me being like, oh yeah, we're gonna totally hook up, like we're gonna kiss right now. But it seemed like it. Yeah, I guess why I
felt
stayed
it.
up.
So then we went into this, little love seat. Watched, 4 episodes of Dead to Me.
Yada yada yada. But then, so that was nice. It was nice, and like I said, like just the sincerity factor. Like that was I think what set all my alarms off, because I was like, oh, this guy's like really sweet and interested in me, and it was intriguing. But then he texted me after I had gone back to Tucson and was like, hey, would it be crazy if I came by for dinner? And I was like, yeah, that's really fucking crazy. He's trying to drive 14 hours out of the way to have dinner with me. And
What was 14 hours?
Well, because I was
drove,
driving
like-
from we drove to Santa Fe. So she left in the morning, drove home to Tucson. I left that night, so she was already home in Tucson. And the route to LA is like this, but Tucson is like a
Yeah.
little.
basically, maybe my math's not even right, but the fact that like he was just willing to go out of his way to come and like make sure that energy went somewhere, that it wasn't just like a random kiss on a couch, but he was trying to like actually see if we had a connection. And I don't know, I think that was what did it for me. I was like, oh, it's on.
And then when did you know you wanted to marry him?
Marriage.
Weren't you guys are engaged, right?
It's true.
are
You said
engaged.
yes.
You did say yes.
I did say yes. Well, I was always sort of on the fence about marriage,
Me too.
but I don't know. There's like a certain, I don't know.
Comfortability with Paul
Well, we had talked
It's like
about
a
wanting
safeness.
children
before
I proposed.
Yeah, we had we had already
So whether it was like
established that.
marriage or not, we had discussed like, we want to make babies.
Yeah, and then I don't know, the proposal, I guess. I mean, it sounds dumb, but yeah, it was just one of those really sweet,
It clicked.
thoughtful moments. I was like, okay, let's do it. It felt like I'd always had so much anxiety about it. And I've been proposed to before. And did not say yes.
he was on his knees and you said no.
I guess I can say no.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, she sure can.
Yeah, it was life or
Yeah,
death.
I did. I finally was at that point where I knew I needed to not be in that situation. But
From the dude that we just talked about?
it was his like Hail Mary.
Yeah, like
We were literally talking about our breakup strategy. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I can come break up with you to your family, and then he got on me.
Family breakup.
I mean,
well, just to tell his family that they were breaking up.
yeah.
Why do you need to do that?
I guess my people pleasing tendencies, the
You
fear
wanted
of,
to do that?
I was willing to face his family together to say,
Peace out, Girl Scout.
they were good people to me,
Yeah.
It's hard to break up with people's family,
It's harder to break up with people's family than it is to break up the actual person.
Sometimes
Sure.
because you don't have the qualms with them,
Yeah, because they're perfect.
I mean, yeah,
Well, they don't do anything wrong.
yeah. So, I don't know. But it's just a safeness factor, I think, and that
I think
means a lot to
safety's,
me.
like,
I had,
Really important in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be number one.
It's like the number one driving like human instinct is like seeking.
If you have kids,
safety.
you
I
wanna
know,
make
and
sure
I
they
feel
feel
bad.
safe.
It feels
Yeah.
like lame. It's that feels like a very lame response, but I mean, it is like a beautiful thing to me that
Safety is important.
yeah,
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, we don't just feel safe around each other. Like we have a great time.
yeah, no, absolutely. But
You're
I
having
think
a
like
good time also.
the
Right?
core of my soul like needed that,
Yeah.
What color is your soul?
It's a good question. Probably turquoise.
What color is your soul?
When you asked that, I thought blue.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
blue.
both blues over
Couple
here.
bluesies, but that's a bullshit question.
I always
What color
think
is your
you're
soul?
yellow.
Like
Well,
what?
if it's a bullshit question, then it's not for you.
I think
There
he's
you
yellow.
go.
I always refer to him as yellow. I just feel
That's
like
my
he's
favorite
like
color.
you're sunny.
Yellow.
He's just the sunny guy.
Leo's mom is like has some abilities, and she'll look at your third eye, and it's like when you look at somebody's third eye, but then you can see in your peripherals they have an aura. That's how she sees if they're good people or not.
You know what's interesting? I got a picture of that, an aura image, right after the breakup with this guy, and my head was completely green, this like massive cloud over my head, and my heart was like bright orange. I just thought it was kind of a cool moment where I was like, I'd been thinking and thinking and thinking and like not acting on the things I was thinking about, and then finally like giving it all space and obviously dealing with like finally letting my heart change.
But then you did one later, like when we were dating with Jeff, or we went to Venice with Jeff,
Yeah,
and you did
we
it
went-
again. Was it completely different?
It was completely different. Yeah.
What, your aura? Mm-hmm. What color was it?
It was, I think it had more colors. There was like a mix, and it was all over color. It wasn't like pinpointed to certain areas the way it was
Yeah.
that first one.
What is that stuff measuring?
It's like some hippy dippy bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, but there's a device that's measuring you and giving you a readout of like an imaging.
Yeah, somebody told me mine was rainbow.
But it's not just thermal. Like it's not,
No, it's
that's not-
spiritual.
but there's not like a machine to read spiritualness. When you get your, like her thing was like they printed out a picture of it. Like this machine will take a picture and see your aura.
I don't know.
Like what's it reading?
Some people have a gift that they can see things.
The machine has a gift.
AI.
I forget what it
Metaverse?
is. It's not like heat or something simple like that.
Like
but maybe
static
it is.
electricity or something.
Yeah, it might
I
be
don't know.
something. I mean, fuck. What do I? Radiation.
It's like you witnessed a nuclear bomb. I don't know. Well, all right. This was a long one for us.
How long was it?
Hour 40.
Oh, really?
Epic. Thanks for staying so long. I know it's past your bedtime.
What time is it? So it must be 8:40.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I've been staying up later since I don't have to, but 10:30, 11.
Yeah, that's about my max too. 11 o'clock. I'm like, all right.
I started watching that
Gotta go.
Outer some bullshit with
Josh Brolin.
Dude, epic.
What's it on?
Amazon, free.
Maybe we should watch it.
I love how that's actually how this podcast started.
Yeah, you walked in talking. Maybe that's even on
Outer Range.
Outer Range.
Outer Range.
Check it out.
I love Josh Brolin.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Dude, he's a sexy man.
He is a sexy
His
man.
voice too, it's like the
voice is
whole
perfect.
deal, the whole package.
You ever seen him in the Sicario. You never seen Sicario?
I've seen Sicario.
He's just walking around in like Birkenstocks, just like, fuck it, you know?
Yeah.
Just doing the gnarliest shit, but just like lays on a couch on a plane.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Phenomenal.
I see him in Malibu sometimes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. Fucking No Country for Old Men. I mean, holy shit. And he's a child actor.
The Goonies.
He doesn't get brought up in the like child actor conversation.
The Goonies.
For sure.
He's the cool older brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, any more questions for me?
Well, I want to say something to you. No, it's a nice thing.
He's going to lay it on
Fuck
thick,
you.
a.k.a. he likes
like,
you a
listen,
lot.
dude.
Let me lay it on thick for a second.
Want to go watch Game of Thrones for 6 hours?
Vinny was on here. Skinny Vinny was the last episode, and he
Yeah.
talked about when he was getting sober, and like he was texting you a lot, and like you really helped him. And I've heard many people tell me that they're like, "Oh yeah, dude, like I texted Scott, like I won't say who the people are, but they're like, oh dude, like I've told Scott things I fucking haven't told anybody." And I'm like I didn't even know you really knew Scott. You know, like you're a good guy. You're good.
Thank you.
A good like sort of anchor in a lot of people's lives. I think you're a pillar in the community.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's good.
I
to have
think
like that about you.
because I see the struggle that a lot of people like have, you know, I think I know who you're talking about. You probably had him on a guest here. Before I talked to him a lot, but I for some reason people reach out to me. I mean, it's like hopefully they feel safe telling me things because there's no judgment. Like I think you can tell me anything, and it's like I know I joke around a lot, you know, but like I really don't. Like you could tell me like, "Fuck, dude," da 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 da, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool." Like, well, you know, how do you feel about that, or you know, how do you solve it from here? Like, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody fucks up. Everybody's done something really bad. And it's like, there's no reason to like treat anybody different, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think I just have that approach when somebody like Vinny calls me or something like that. It's like, yeah, dude, like I think naturally I want to help people. And it makes me feel good to help. So I'm always happy to like take phone calls, and it's almost like a problem solving. But sometimes people just want you to listen, and so I appreciate that, and thank you.
I appreciate you very much. I value your friendship very much.
Yeah, likewise.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you too.
I love you too. Thank you for looking out for each other.
Yeah, you've helped me a lot. Like get my shit together a little bit. Like my life's a little more buttoned up.
It's funny.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. I know. That's funny.
No, it was like really, Scott. Thank you.
No, it's funny when if you go to somebody, you can tell what kind of family they grew up in. If you say "I love you" and watch them squirm, it means they didn't say that in their family. If they say "Yeah, dude, love you," they didn't say you,
right?
But if they're like "Yeah, I love you, dude," like Steve says it to me, you say it. You know, you just said I love you.
Okay, like yeah, that was a big move for us. We just got a lot closer.
Sure.
But if you say that to somebody and they're like, "Yeah, dude, for sure," it's like they don't acknowledge it, or if they just say like, "Yeah, dude, back at you."
I don't know if it's the family because I feel
like I dropped it back at you recently.
Back at you?
I wonder who said it to
you
me.
Probably didn't love him.
I have a sibling who's like, he doesn't always hit you back with the "I love you."
Well, how do you know he's not going through something?
I just think he just saves it for when it really counts. Like he doesn't throw it around frivolously. Whereas the rest of my family, every phone call is like, "All right, I love you, bye."
Yeah, I'm that way.
I'm like that
my
with
family.
Every friend too. Like, "All right, see you later, love you, bye."
Yeah.
But
well, you just started doing that.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
I didn't just. Oh, maybe with you.
Maybe.
I was. When I came into work with you guys
4 months ago,
I wanted to keep like a work separation a little bit.
But now you feel safe.
Yeah.
But now I feel safe. I think I was reluctant to like bro down too hard with you guys because I was trying to be like, this is just my job.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get, because at the Dudesons, like I got swallowed up in it, which I love the Dudesons and I'm glad I did, but I wasn't looking to do that working for Steve and you got like,
yeah.
I was looking to like have a good thing that I do and then I leave and then I am clocked out,
Yeah.
like work that ends.
You put walls up.
I put walls up. So I had a wall up a little bit. Yeah. So it was, I loved you even before I said it.
You had me on hello.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
well, cool. That was fun.
Scott Randolph, everybody. Thank you very much.
All righty.
I love you. Good night.
Back at you.